Hello and welcome to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I am Robert Haynes, your guide, your host. I mixed those up this time, but that's okay, into the world of TSM. No major announcements other than this is the first Thursday show after the Monday show. And as a reminder, this one will be up on Reddit along with the Monday show, which I will put at the bottom of the post. Again, I wanted to just do one post, keep it simple. If people really want both, that's where they can find it. Hopefully they'll get used to listening on Mondays. I'm excited to hear feedback for both shows and how you guys are all feeling about it. But yeah, again, I'm excited for this. I'm enjoying it so far. I know I'm only 2 days in, but it's allowed me to take a lot deeper dives into, a lot of the games and a lot of what I'm expecting. As you can tell, last game, I think I went pretty deep into what happened into the game. I went into a lot more play-by-play stuff and what I thought about it and how it affected the rest of the game. Today, we will be previewing the weekend for TSM. And specifically, we will be, diving deep into their matchups. I guess deeper. Yeah, that's the word. Anyways, what I'm going to do for each one is I'm going to talk about my 3 keys of the game, my champions to watch, and then I'll just talk a little bit about the games overall, what my hopes are, my expectations are. And then we will be doing the Academy update, like I said in this show. Which there's a lot to go over for the Academy update, surprisingly. So I will dedicate probably a good couple minutes to that one because we have to go out and we have to support them today. I'll get to that later. This is probably the easiest weekend for TSM for quite a while. Let me make sure that that's 100% true. Yeah, this will be TSM's easiest weekend for the rest of the season. And I know that's going to sound weird considering they start off with Team Liquid, but then they get CLG and then they get FlyQuest. So, and then next week is the banger weekend where we will face off against Dignitas, then 100 Thieves, and then Cloud9. So that's going to probably be an extra long, deep look at the keys to victory for TSM. And then to finish it all up for the first regular season of 3 games, which, by the way, question of the day, how are you liking the first season of 3 games a weekend for every team? I will give my quick thoughts on that. I am loving it. I love that we get 3 games a week. I love it. The more League of Legends, the better. I wish it was like baseball season where I could just watch it at all times. It's going to be an issue when baseball season and League of Legends overlap because I'm going to just be so... my face is already glued to screens, but holy moly, I'm going to be watching the Reds game and then watching the TSM game. And then, next thing I know, it's going to be, 5 hours of almost every day just gone. So, really, really, really good stuff. Kind of funny, but yeah, it is what it is. Oh, for those of you who may care, Pokemon Direct announced as well for tomorrow, Friday the 26th at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Interesting. We'll see what happens. Anywho. So yeah, I will say though, I do wish that we had best of 3s still. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, that's so much League to watch and blah, blah, blah. If they spread it out the way that they do in the LPL and they actually gave us games, like during the week and whatnot, which I know doesn't have as great a viewership, whatever. I get it. I know that NA doesn't like it as much. I wish that we did. Because it's more League and it's better, in my opinion, for the players. It gives them more time to actually... I don't know. I mean, the LPL does it, right? And believe the LCK does too. Yeah, they do. And it allows these teams to get so many more games in per season, which I went over with everybody, I believe, way early on in one of the first podcasts. So if you want to know about that, I don't remember which one it is. It might be somewhere in the first 4. So I'd give that a look. Anywho, what you're here for. Diving into these games. Team Liquid. First game on Friday, February 26th. TSM will be playing them at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, also known as 4 p.m. Pacific Standard. And so I'm going to jump right into my 3 keys of the game to start. The first one is that I want TSM to pick for high CC scaling team fights. Now, sure, we want that currently in every game. I do want TSM to learn other styles, but for this one specifically, I think to beat a team that, at least individual talent-wise, is at least as good or better, depending on your personal opinion, you need to be able to, high CC scaling team fights, like, that's the name of the game. And that's the way that TL likes to play. That's how they've always liked to play. And while you'd say, Robert, why would you pick into the same style that they like to play? It's because right now, we are better at playing that style. Let that sink in. Currently, TSM are better at playing the late game scaling team fight than Cloud9. Or, excuse me, than TL. Not than Cloud9, that's for sure. And, that may sound crazy, but it's kind of the truth. And truthfully, like, Jensen's been almost a liability. Like, he's just barely been in these games. And I know he's got plenty of assists still. He's still not dying pretty much at all. But he's also the only mid laner in the league that has no first bloods, like, meaning no assists or kills. He is below Power of Evil's CS per minute. He's putting out 418 damage, which is 3rd worst in the LCS per minute. And he's not doing much for his team. He's just kind of been there. And sure, Power of Evil hasn't been as good as we were all hoping for at the onset. He's been looking better and better. His Azir and his Victor specifically look very good, which I think teams are going to continue to target. We should all hope that we never have to see Corki again. But that's I guess that's kind of my point is things like the Corki, they don't do anything for this team. They don't add anything because this team is good at team fighting. And the more CC they have, whether it be slows or taunts or knockups or, stuns, whatever it may be, Shurima shuffles. This team is better when they do that right now. And they can work on this stuff before the summer split. Potentially even at MSI. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? So yes, high CC scaling team fights. And like I said, I will talk about some champions that I'm looking at. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. The second thing is I am looking for Spica to gank often and for Sword Art to be roaming with him. That's my second key of the game, is Spica ganking and Sword Art roaming with him. And it's because I have a piece coming out today. I normally do these earlier. I wanted to test it out and see what my takeaways would look like later in the week. But one of them is that hopefully this new ganking meta will help Spica, because Spica likes to be involved. And right now, let me give you some interesting statistics about our lovely boy, amazing boy, Spica. We all love him. He's a good boy. but he has struggled. And here's some really important stats that he ranks bottom 5 across all LCS junglers, and that includes Broxa coming in, all right? So it gives him a little bit of wiggle room, but not really. He has 15 kills currently in the LCS, which is 8th out of 11. 8 out of 11. Ugh. Not great. Blabber has 45, by the way. That's 30 more kills. Svenskeren, 32. Reksai, even, 28. Santorin, 27. Closer, 24. Jose Diodo, 24. Dardoch, 23. Below him are Griffin with 13, Iconic with 10, and Broxa is already almost catching up with him with a third less games with 6. And this, not surprisingly, plays into his kill participation, which is the second lowest, only to Iconic, at 56.6%. Again, 10th out of 11. His team's kill share, okay, meaning how many kills he has. All right, here, I'll read it exactly. So this is all coming from Oracle's Elixir, by the way. It's a great website for you to check out player stats, champion stats. I get a lot of my stuff from there. Tim does a great job. But kill share is a player's percentage of their team's total kills. All right? Currently, Spica has the worst at 13.3%. Now, if there are 5 people on a team in League of Legends, which there are, then you should want there to be about 20%, right? Because that's even amongst everybody. Now, for TSM as a whole, the kill share currently goes like this. Sword Art at 2.7%, which, of course, support, that's fine. Then Spica at 13.3%. Honey at 15.9%. Power of Evil at 31% and Lost at 37.2%. Now, this is fine to a certain degree. They are allowing their, carries to do the carrying. But, the fact that Spica is currently tied with Power of Evil, which means that our jungle mid duo is not doing what it needs to right now. The fact that their kill participation is both 56.6 is not good. Lost's is 77%, Hooney's is 73.5%, and Sword Art's is 68.1%. There's a lot of different factors that goes into that, but it's not good. Like, that's not something you want. You want him to be at least in the middle in a lot of these categories, right? His first blood percentage. Now, this is one that junglers should have pretty high, because most of the time, unless if it's solo kills or unless if it's the bot duo getting kills, right, you want your jungler involved. Currently, Spica has been involved in 1 first blood for this team. 1. 11%. Think about that. 11%. Meaning in their 9 games, he has been involved exactly 1 time in first blood. And that can be a kill or an assist. And it's tied for last along with Closer and Iconic. And you would say, but Robert, come on. Like, maybe TSM just aren't getting a lot of first bloods. And to that I say, my friends, that just ain't true. Weirdly enough, okay, and now this doesn't mean everything, because it's, first blood is not the most important thing. But it's funny because Counterlogic Gaming actually has 100% first blood. In all 9 games, they have been the first ones to get a kill. Yet they are 1-8. Ooh, interesting. But, yeah, I mean, TSM have only gotten 33% of first bloods. So, I mean, sure, you'd be right. Like, he's been involved in them in general, I guess. He's been involved in one of their 3. But it's not good. Like, you want this team to be at least 50% probably. So at least 2 more would be ideal. Anyways, moving on. His goal difference, his experience difference, and his creep score difference are all in the negatives. The creep score is barely. The experience and the goal difference, not a lot, but still about 100. Those two have him in 9th out of 11. His CS per minute is 8th out of 11. His damage per minute is 290, which is 7th out of the 11. And to be fair, his counter pick percentage is still 44%, which is not great, but not bad. Now, when you compare some of this to last season, Spica had a 73.4% kill participation. And while his goal differences and experience differences were less, the reason was because he was sacrificing more to go to his lanes. And I understand this is this currently the last 3 patches we're farming metas. But when he's farming and he's not doing anything with it, when he is not having a high impact, that is a problem. Luckily, though, I think ganking metas are just better for him. He likes to be involved, right? Like, he likes to be involved in a high percent of the team's kills. That's what allows him to be as good as he is. We saw that last year. When TSM were succeeding, Spica was involved. Now, TSM have been succeeding this year without Spica being involved, and that's really good for this team because that means that when he does get involved, they're just going to be even better. So anyways, I ranted too long on this one. We'll keep going. I expect him to be ganking, and Sword Art will be roaming with him, and I think that's really, really, really important for this team going forward. Okay? And I think that in the TL game specifically, they can leave Lost down there. He'll be fine. I know that TL likes to be aggressive, but he can just farm under tower. Even if they gank him, that's fine. They can get PoE ahead. They can get Huni ahead. They can get Spica ahead, right? And again, Lost, I know, has been our carry. I'm not saying you give up on Lost in lane. I'm just saying that roaming and getting him out of lane and allowing Lost to catch up later if he needs to is not necessarily the worst thing when you're playing a scaling teamfight comp. It can allow them to get objective controls, all that kind of jazz. The last key, do not expect TL to draft as poorly as they did in the last game. Honestly, their draft was awful compared to TSM's, and TSM just rocked them for it. It was rock 'em, sock 'em, bop 'em. They just couldn't do anything. They were all damaged. They all just were depending on Alfari to come in and get great ults. But when you have, Azir ult, Gnar ult, even Lilia ult, Kai'Sa ult, Kai'Sa to get herself out of it. The rest of them, even Sword Art stun on Pantheon. Like, everything was like, yeah, no biggie. You can pick, you can pick Kennen all you want, and they picked Kennen last after seeing all this. And I get it, their mindset's, hey, we need to get some engage, but yeah, not a great idea for that team. So don't expect them to draft that poorly again. But the thing that was important was that TSM were proactive. They moved first. In the fight where PoE gets a quadra kill, it's because he's already moving down and Huni TP's way before Alfari. So they already get a kill. They're already in a better position, right? And, in that fight in the bot lane, there's just nothing they can do. And for TSM, that's been the name of the game. When they move first, they are successful. The reason they lost the Rift Herald and basically the game against Dignitas was because PoE moved second. Now, obviously, he's on Corki, so he can't do as much. But still, if he's there putting in some damage before, Dignitas not only take the Rift Herald and then start moving TSM up towards the top lane, then he's able to, then TSM can maybe win that fight. They don't get Rift Herald probably, but they're able to at least, turn that fight around because Dardoch was almost dead and pushed out of the fight, and the 2v2, with a Lulu and an Olaf is not one that you're probably going to win. I forget exactly. I think it was, maybe Gnar. Yeah, it was Gnar and somebody else. It was Gnar and Azir. There we go. Gnar and Azir. And you're not going to win that, especially, with the way that they were playing. It's just not going to happen. So, yeah. Those are my 3 keys. High CC scaling team fights. Spica ganking with Sword Art roaming. And TSM continuing the proactivity and not expecting the TL draft to be as bad as it was. If they can do those things, I think that they can come out on top of this game. I know TL just beat C9. They looked good doing it. They still have a strong team fight. But I think TSM can definitely take it to them. My champions to watch for are Sion, who has been popping up in the meta a lot. I expect to see him in this game. Huni has barely ever played Sion, so I'm more expected to be Alfari. I hope that TSM, if Huni hasn't been practicing it, we know that he is now, tank CC boy, getting there and do the fighting thing. I think Sion would be a great pick for him. I don't know that he's been playing it. I didn't have time to check, to be honest. If he has, then that'd be great, but it is a pick that I expect to see. I also want to see Seraphine for TSM. She's so good. And I would hope that Power of Evil or Sword Art or even Lost have been learning her. She's so great in team fights. God, she is literally the definition of high CC scaling team fight. Man, oh man. And then I've played her myself. Like, she is everything you could possibly want for this team. I would love to see her picked. She's not going to be my Galio where I'm screaming at the top of my lungs that they need to pick him. Because, they're 2-0 on him, by the way. But for Seraphine, I think that she'd be a really good fit for this team. And I know that she wouldn't fit as well into the styles that this team plays, but that's okay. If they can show success on different champions, that's a good thing. So I'd like to see it. If they're not going to play it, she needs to get banned, because I can guarantee you that Team Liquid will find a way to play her. That's just what they do. And then Reksai. Reksai has been coming into the meta. We saw Blabber succeed with it last weekend. She keeps moving more and more into the meta because, again, it's a ganking meta, and she's one of the best ganking champions there are. She gets a Prowler's Claw, which, if I remember correctly, stuns and dashes, which is great for her. You combine that with when she doesn't have her ult down, or maybe, you combine it with her ult. Just a whole bunch of different ways that you can do it, plus the knockups, plus the, maneuverability and everything else. She seems like she's going to be a very strong champion, and one that, if I'm TSM, I'm hoping that Spica is going to pull out, because, again, she's just, in a ganking meta, she's just one of the best, and it's a champion that, Spica has not really, actually has never played in his career. Now, I don't know if it's because, she wasn't in the meta when he was playing, but it's one that I would like to see him on. And real quick, I want to point out the champions that he's good on, the ganking champions, right? Because his Graves is not very good. His Olaf's not bad, but it's just not a style that he seems to like. But here are the champions that he is good at. His win rate on Sejuani's not great, but I think a lot of that's because he played it more when he was younger. She's a good ganking champion, one that we could potentially see. Jarvan, specifically, when I've been pointing out, he is very good on. His Lee Sin, we know, is good. It doesn't have a great win-loss record, but we know he can play it well, and I would love to see him do that. We obviously know his Nidalee's great, but I don't expect her to be out there very much. Set is very good with him. Gragas is solid with him. His Volibear last year was really solid. If Zac comes back into the meta for ganking, he's solid on that. Hecarim's great at ganking. I know that, he's more of a farming champion currently, but he can still be played in a ganking meta. He can pull out the River Shen again. I would love to see him on Skarner. He played that Evelyn last year. That wasn't too bad. Like, the Talias and the Graves and the Olafs, like, and even the Nidalee right now, like, those are not the champions that the Nidalee he's 7-6 on. Like, he's found success to a certain degree, but this season for some reason he just hasn't been the same on her. So, the champions that he's okay at but not great at are getting out of the meta. Sorry, I'm going on about Speak a lot because I really know that he's going to turn it on, I think, in this meta, or I feel like he is. Anyways, we move on to CLG. Sorry. Still getting used to this new format. TL, I do expect us to pull out a dub here. I think that loss to Dignitas was a good thing, and I expect them to do a lot of the things that I pointed out, and pull off a win. I think TL is still not all the way back yet, and even with a win, I think C9 just kind of played their game badly, honestly. So I think it was more of C9 losing than TL winning, as bad as that sounds. So, yeah. Moving into two hopefully very, very winnable games here for TSM. My 3 keys for victory against CLG are, the first one is get bot lane ahead. This is a game where you absolutely focus on Lost, because not only does it allow Lost to get ahead, but it also keeps Wild Turtle down. And for this team that has struggled a lot, Wild Turtle has been, one of the signs of life for them. I don't think RJS, while he's solid and he did give PoE problems the last time they played, I don't expect him to be that much of an issue. And sure, Finn can probably still play carry type champions better than Huni right now. I think they just leave Huni up on an island. They say just do what you can, don't die, don't fall too far behind in farm, make sure you ward, and they leave him up there on on top lane island, and they focus on getting the bot lane ahead. And again, with a ganking meta, that should not be too hard for them to do. So I really like that. My second thing is, don't allow Broxa to get objective control. He's very good at that. It's one of the best things that he's done in his entire career. He's able to make sure that his team has control of Drakes, of Rift Heralds, of Barons, even to a certain degree of towers. And this team is, CLG is creeping right now. They're looking, they're creeping up. Like, they look like a team that could, definitely ruin some seasons here as the, last couple games go on. And I don't want TSM to give Broxa his first win on CLG. Hopefully he gets it on Friday. I don't really know who they play. Let's check real quick. They play 100 Thieves, so I guess it's not totally out of the question. But, I would like to see them really focus on, not allowing him to have the control. Now, TSM's great at warding. They're really normally very solid at objectives. But, Brox is really good too. I mean, he's been doing it for a long time. The man's been in a World's final, right? I'm pretty sure Fnatic got there, or at least a semifinal. I know that. So, the boy's good. Yeah, it's a semifinal. I don't think he got to the finals, but semifinals. He's good, and he's going to make this team a lot better. And I don't want they can go on and win every game after the TSM game, but this game, this is one where they need to remind CLG, hey, you're not at our level right now, and you may not be in for a while. And then I want them to play. This is going to sound terrible, but I want them to play mistake-free League of Legends. I just want this to be a clean game, right? Like, you're going to make mistakes. I get that, but I'm talking about no major blunders that allows CLG to get back in the game. Don't have weird ganks. Don't try to force things. Just play a clean game of, I should say that, not mistake free, but clean game of League of Legends. Focus on getting your objectives. Just focus on making sure that you win this game. Okay? And control your opponents. You are better than them at every level. Right? Like, again, I said Finn, is potentially better at carry champions. That's fine right now. Huni has turned into the tank CC guy. Totally fine. There's no way that they should beat us in team fights. There's no way they should be beating us in any lanes. And, with those two things, we should be able to control the objectives and cleanly close this one out by 30 minutes. That's the goal. They were able to do it against 100 Thieves, a team that's hella better than CLG, and I know that CLG game was skeptical at best, but TSM have found the way they like to play since then, and the way they understand each other, and their communications are better, their drafts are better in general. They need to push themselves and get past that and really play a good game of League of Legends against CLG. So again, to recap, 3 keys. Get bot lane ahead, don't allow Broxah to get objective control, and play a clean game of League of Legends. Now here are my champions to watch for. Corki, not because I want TSM to pick him, but because they should pressure RJS into picking him. I don't think he's very good right now. I don't understand the matchup. I really don't get it. If TSM have first pick here, which I don't think we know that yet. If they do, though, the Azir needs to be top priority. And if he gets banned, so what? Pick something else. Just for the love of God, do not pick Corki. He's not working very well in this meta right now. He's really not working well for TSM. I think that's pretty clear, to say the least. Corki's win percentage right now in 3 games played is 0%. We are 2 of them, and RJS is the third one. So if they wanna play him, let him play. That's fine. But he has been pretty useless. I don't expect us to see him in the game. But if we do, then it should be RJS picking him, not Power of Evil. Another champion is Thresh. So, there are some interesting things about Thresh. Now we know that Thresh is able to be played at a pretty high level, and we saw him in the lock-in tournament from Sword Art. Wasn't great, but all time for Sword Art, a player who's been around forever and who's been very, very good for a long time. He's 47-31 on this champion. One of his best champions, his highest played champion. I want to see him feel comfortable pulling it out, and I think this is a good chance to do that. And especially when paired for my second champion to watch for, Ashe. Again, how do you keep Broxah from getting objective control and, doing all these other things? You use the Ashe's Hawkshot. And you check on him. You know where he is at all times. Junglers hate Ashe. All my jungler friends, including myself, we all hate Ashe. And it's because, she can look around. She can see everything that's going on. And she's back into the meta. She's strong. And, and getting her ahead, I think, is a good thing. Because then Thresh, even getting her a kill or two, or even just getting her a kill and an assist, or just pushing the other team into into their tower is fine, because Thresh can play multiple versions. He's so good. He can play attack where he's playing up, he's going for hooks, but you can also play back where he's, using his lantern to get people out. And especially for a champion like Ashe, who he pairs pretty well up with, because, she doesn't have any natural dashes herself, or, ways to escape incoming foes. It's a good way for them to play. And it's kind of a classic combo that I would love to see this team start playing. We know that they're good with the Kai'Sa. We know that Lost can pull out other champions like Xayah, like that awesome Ezreal build that he did. But I would like to see this one. I'd really love to see him. And Ashe is a solid champion for Lost. I think these two would be great. Again, I expect us to win this CLG game. I would like them to experiment a little bit, with something like the Thresh Ashe, which they haven't done yet. But, if they can do these keys to the game, if they can play that clean game of League of Legends that we know they can, that they've done, 3 times now this year, then I think this is a pretty easy dub. Heading into FlyQuest, last one here. On Sunday, they will play FlyQuest in a revenge game, the 28th, at 4 p.m. They lead us off, similar to how they led off the season. And this is going to be really important. So the first key to the game is keeping Jose Diodo in check, which every team is doing right now. Like, that is probably priority number 1 or 2 for them, is you just keep him in check. And it's not that you have to, get him behind or anything else. It's just making sure he doesn't take over the game. Because when he has that opportunity to take over the game, that's when he becomes a problem. He has specifically done it on picks like the Hecarim, the Lilia, a little bit on the Graves. And, this team is still struggling. Diamond has been pretty rough. Diamond in the rough. Sorry, just caught that. Sorry, I know it's kind of dumb to laugh at, but whatever. Anyways, Diamond's not been doing very well. I think Johnson's still pretty solid. I think the rest of the team, honestly, even Palafox has had his good games. Licorice is just getting focused like crazy, which will be point number 2 here in a second. But, this team likes to play through Jose Diodo. And, likes to, have him make plays. Now, it's not that he's getting a lot of kills or a lot of assists or that he's even doing a lot necessarily, but it's just the idea, I think, behind him. And when they're winning their games, it's because he's playing well. When they're losing their games, it's because he's just not able to do very much. I want TSM to do that. I don't want him to get, first off, Hecarim just needs to be gone. We'll talk about that in Champions to Watch for, but, don't give him those super engagey champions to where he can jump in and actually cause some serious damage. Like, this will be a game you'll want to make sure you don't give him something like the Reksai or the Jarvan. I would focus ban him to a certain degree, and really try to just take him out of the game in terms of, not allowing him to be overly effective. And I think that they can do pretty well here if they do that. The second thing is going to be, like I said, keep getting Licorice behind. Licorice has been getting a lot of flack, but he's kind of getting, like the Niles treatment right now. I don't know what else to say other than that. Like, it's not been good for him. He's just constantly getting ganked. He's constantly behind. He's got so many deaths in League of Legends right now. Like, let me check. I want to see who's died the most. I want to say he's up here, but maybe not. Yeah, no. I mean, he's kind of up here. He's got 29 deaths this year, which is, puts him kind of in like the top 10, top 15. But he also is getting a lot of counterplay. His counter pick rate currently is 78%, which is really high. I believe it's, along with Wild Turtle in Impact and weirdly Newbie. Ooh, that's strange. It's actually one of the highest. It's tied for the highest in the league with like 6 other players. So, while he is getting focused, he is still, still having an impact. He still has 27 kills this year. He's been involved in, 56% of their first bloods. We know that they are trying to play around him. We know that teams are trying to, get him behind. And a lot of the time they do so. Even if he gets the first kill, they'll just keep going up there. And Jose Diodo is trying to get up there, and, Diamond and Palafox are trying to get up there to help him. But most of the time, he's back into his second tower before they can really do much. And it's because he's the best player in their team. Let that sink in. Like, everybody loves Jose Diodo. People like Palafox. Most people like Johnson. They should like Johnson. He's solid. But, yeah, I mean, if you get Licorice behind, there's not a whole lot that FlyQuest can do. And so I'd really love to see TSM, not focus as much on getting Huni counter pick or giving him a pick to where he can dominate in lane, but more ganking and keeping him into his tower. This would be a great game to give Ornn, even blind pick Ornn early on in the draft, because there's just not a lot that Licorice can do against that, especially once they hit the mid game. Especially once they hit level 3. Once he has all of his abilities, Ornn is a huge pain in the butt. So, yeah, that's point number 2. Point number 3 is they need to win or at least go even in draft. Last time it was draft canyon for TSM. This time, if they can at least go even, or if they win the draft, then they win the game, period. The rest of this stuff doesn't matter. You can keep Jose Diodo in check by a good draft. You can keep Licorice behind with a good draft. TSM has figured out the way that they like to draft things. They have a good idea of what their first picks are going to be a lot of the time, at least lately. and they play around things that actually help each other, which is important. So I want to see them really focus on that. I want to make sure that, like, by the time that we're done with the draft, if I go, it's a toss-up in terms of who won the draft, then I can feel comfortable saying I think TSM win that. If I look at it and I go, all right, TSM's draft looks pretty good here, then I feel confident saying then that's a dub. They gave FlyQuest one of their 3 wins. I can't see them giving them a second one. Either that, if they give them a second one, then I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that maybe like FlyQuest just has like that one. They're just that one team that kind of like is like a strong counter to TSM. I guess I don't know. We'll have to see. But either way, those are my 3 keys: keep Jose Diodo in check, get Licorice behind, and win or at least go even in the draft phase. And I can see TSM pulling out yet another win, which would hopefully by the end of the weekend get them to 9-3. And at that point, if they are sitting 9-3, even if they're sitting at 8-4, they're pretty much guaranteed a playoff spot at that point. With 6 games left, they'd essentially have to lose out to miss out on playoffs, and a lot of teams would have to be a lot better, let's just say, than they have been. So, yeah, this is a good position for them to be in. Champions to watch for in the FlyQuest game. Hecarim, as I said, just ban it. Just ban it. Don't even worry about it. We know Jose Diodo knows how to play him some Hecarim, and he's solid on it. He loves that rainbow skin. He loves, it's the arcade skin, but, it has, the rainbow tail and everything, and it's because he played on Rainbow 7 last year. He loves to flash it. He loves to play it. Just don't give it to him. Just don't even worry about it. Bam, gone. Azir, which has been one of Palafox's better champions as well as Power of Evils. Here's the deal. If I'm TSM here, if they don't have first pick and they can't get Azir, they ban it. I think FlyQuest will probably try to do the same thing, to be honest. And so, I doubt we'll see Azir, but if we do, it's going to be one of the more contested picks. The last thing I want to see is I want to see the Galio or the Pantheon on Sword Art. I think that I know I am such a Galio homer, and I play him a lot. Like, I see the impact he has in games. And right now, he is a strong pick. There's not a lot of people who are going to disagree with me on that. He is strong in the mid lane. He is strong in the bot lane as well at support. And I want to see him because he has got a great ultimate. He's got great CC. And he can still pour out some okay damage. His Wings of War are just, oh my god, they hit really hard actually, And when he's able to get in there, and hits his hammer fists and knocking people up, like, he's just a solid overall champion. And for this team, I think he is going to be just perfect for them, and especially against FlyQuest. If we want to get Sword Art out there and roaming around and making plays, that's a good champion to have. Now, I don't know if Pantheon is still going to be in the meta as much in this. I've been looking at a lot of tier lists, and I've been watching some games, and I don't see him as much now, especially as support, but who cares? He fits the style TSM wants to play. He still has point-and-click CC. His shield still negates plenty of damage, and he can jump all over the map. I want to see them do that in this game. Diamond is not as good. So you can leave Lost by himself. He's probably going to be okay. And if we can, get plenty of man advantages in the mid lane and in the top lane, right? That's how you stop Licorice. That's how you keep Jose Diodo in check because, hey, he's going to gank. Guess what? There's a Pantheon stun, or there's a Galio ultimate, or there's a Galio taunt, right? There's a lot of ways for this to be very useful for TSM, and I think that these 2 picks very specifically are just perfect. I want to see more of them, and if they're not going to get banned, I don't even care if they get first picked. Go for it. Everybody's like, oh, well, what about them in lane? What if they go double caster support, or go with a caster support, or go with just a range support in general? I don't care. The Galio or the Pantheon's going to likely just be out of lane most of the time. So who cares? And even if they are in lane, I don't think that stops them from being able to jump in and CC the crap out of both people and do plenty of damage. I mean, that combo from Galio, where with the taunt, the AoE auto attack, plus the Wings of War, I mean, that chunks people down at all levels. Not as much into the late game, but specifically in the early and mid game, it can do a lot. So those are the things I want to see there. Again, I do predict a TSM win here because I think they are a much better team than the first time they played FlyQuest. So, yay. 3-0 weekend, hopefully. I know I don't pick many losses, but that's because, I don't expect this team to lose very often. They are a good team. We'll see about next weekend. Next weekend's going to be... Again, they are going through the gauntlet next weekend. It's going to be fun, but it is also going to be stressful. Those 3 games are... they're just... Stressful is a good word for them. Running through Dig, 100 Thieves, and C9. Whew! That's a tough weekend. Who would have said that about Dig? Wow. Whoever would have thought. Anyways, Academy update. So they are into the tournament thingy. Currently the Unified Grand Prix, 2021 Spring, which is, a Tier 1 partnered organization tournament that feeds into Proving Grounds. TSM, as we talked about last weekend, finished 7th or 8th. I think they finished 7th. And so they have to play through this. If they win this, then they can move on to the next tournament, which allows them to, I think, get right into Proving Grounds. I don't remember exactly what it is, but something like that. But they're in this tournament right now with teams like CLG Academy, who was the other team for them. And then like the amateur teams for EG, for C9, Maryville University's in it, Winthrop University, Barrage, which is supposed to be a pretty solid amateur organization, No Org, which is also a pretty solid amateur organization, Solified, Revival, Supernova, which has been around forever, and then one I've never really heard of is Zeus Gaming. But so first round of play-ins, kind of went as people expected. It was double in limbs after the play-in rounds. Round 1, TSM were able to beat Winthrop. They lost game 1. Able to come back and be really solid in games 2 and 3. And they moved on to play Solified, which is a team with Dokla, Winston, Tuesday, Apollo, and Zazel. So, 3 former LCS players, and Tuesday and Winston were both from CLG Academy last year. I think Winston was. I know Tuesday was. So they've got plenty of experience. And similar to TSM, and they just rolled through. They didn't roll through. Game 1, TSM lost a banger. Sword looked good. Cody's son looked good. They kind of just threw, to be honest. They threw a fight. Apollo got really big on the Varus, which I didn't expect to see. But they went into game 2, and then game 2 was just not good from the beginning. Cody's son did his best, going 11-2 and 3. But it wasn't enough, as Tuesday and Apollo, again, just did really well. I've always thought Apollo was really solid. So, I know they're trying to get younger, but, yeah, I mean, he's a solid player, so no surprise there. And they take out TSM Academy 2-0, which then moves TSM down. So if TSM would have won this, I believe it's the top 4 teams from this move up to the next level. And so Solified and Zeus, which has Alorum on it, which is interesting. And then 4 names I haven't really heard of. I think I'd maybe heard of Rhino, but other than that, RBM, Dark Wings, and Raheen. Those are all, again, young kids who are, I guess, being led by Alorum, and they were able to beat No Org and make it, into the semifinals. Winner of that goes to the grand finals, which is being played for money, but those 2 teams have already made it into the next level, which, again, I believe is Proving Grounds. Now, TSM play tonight. After their loss, they get Winthrop again. Winthrop was able to beat Cloud9 Academy in the losers bracket. If TSM are able to beat Winthrop University in their best of 3, then they will move on into Proving Grounds, which is, again, a kind of an expectation for this team, if you ask me, considering the players that they have on it. So, Yeah. This is a big game. Now, they've already beat Winthrop, but, Winthrop showed that they can absolutely still compete, against TSM. They're a bunch of, no-name kind of kids, hybrids. I've never heard of Frost Forest, who I've not heard of. Doxa Saskio, who I have heard of. I think he played for Maryville maybe at one time. I don't remember, but I've definitely heard of Saskio. And then Serkenji. I think that's how it's pronounced. So, they look solid. They were able to take down Cloud9 Amateur 2-0. And again, the winner of this game gets to be top 4 and gets to go on to the next level. The other game will be between No.org and CLG Academy, which CLG Academy has Thean, Griffin. I guess RJS is still... there's no way RJS is still playing on CLG Academy, is he? I think it's been Pobelter. I don't know. Pobelter just might not be playing at all, so it might have to be RJS. I don't know. Katsuri and Hooks, who used to be... I forget what his name... What was his name before? Otto. The CLG, 80 carry who switched to support. So... and then No.org, which is a pretty funny name, but also has definitely some players you've heard of. Viper, Onda, Five Fire, who's been in the academy or not in the amateur team, for a long time, and also played in Scouting Grounds. Value, who I believe was on Maryville at one point. I'll have to get check on that. And then Big, who you definitely know of, and they're being coached by Stunt, which is cool. So, an interesting story for all those players. They'll be taking on the CLG Academy team. So basically 2 Academy squads going at it, in that other game. But, the hope here is TSM can pull it out. They play later tonight. I believe it's at 6 o'clock Eastern. So make sure that you're on the lookout for that. That's a good game to go support the boys in. Go help them push forward to get their dub. So, yeah. With that, that's the end of our Thursday one. Again, if you like the show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, hit the bell icon so you don't miss another episode. There will be another one coming out on Monday. Where we will discuss this weekend's games, which we hope will be a 3-0. I think at a minimum it's a 2-1. Which, knowing TSM, they could crush FlyQuest and TL and then lose to CLG. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever, considering how this team plays. If it's an 0-3, then we got a lot to go over. Hopefully it won't be an 0-3, though. Whew, that'd be bad. Also, I want to continue to make this the #1 podcast on all podcasting platforms. If you feel so inclined, please leave a review, especially if you're listening on Apple. I would appreciate that immensely. A lot of you have already done that. I thank you. Please share this with your friends. You can find our official tweet if you're on Twitter on either my account at TGHRobertHaynes or the Gamehouse's Twitter account at TGHEsports. Please use the hashtag TalkingTSM when tweeting at us or sharing it. Lastly, head to thegamehouse.com. As I said, I will have a piece coming out today that I think you all will find interesting. I've taken a lot of time to make sure that I've dove deep. A lot of interesting statistics in there and something that hopefully you guys will like. So head to the Gamehouse. Make sure you check it out. And with that, thank you for tuning in. This show comes out every Monday and Thursday and is exclusively for your TSM earholes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. See you next week.